This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. Parental discretion is advised.
There are so many streaming TV series.
So many channels.
I have a stream.
I just don't know which one to watch.
Is this show worth our time?
I have a stream.
I'm 3 seasons behind already. Is it even worth catching up?
I have a stream.
What's the series about? Will my wife like it too?
I have a stream.
What channel is it on? And who's in it?
I have a stream.
I want to watch something new, something original.
I have a stream.
I want to watch something that's action-packed.
I have a stream.
This is Bears Barroom Radio Network live on Mixler. This is John Santucci. Call me Tooch. I have a stream podcast rolling live. With me, as always, is Joe Mandel. Joey Two Scoops. Joe, how are you tonight?
Doing well, brother. It's good to be back on the airwaves on MixLR, and I don't know about you, man, but I'm ready for next week's episode of Game of Thrones.
Oh, man, it's been great. Before we get to that, I want to say hi to all the Barflies out in Barfly Nation, Bears Barroom, all the followers. And I want to order a drink, Joe, at Bears Barroom. Is that all right?
Yeah, and I think we have some music here to introduce our bartender. Of course, we got some Mastodon going on in the background. For everyone
Nothing
that doesn't
gets me pumped up like a little bit of Mastodon, fellas. How you doing tonight?
It's Aaron Michalski calling from Carter Lake, Iowa. And
you even pronounced my name right. I'm impressed.
Oh, Aaron, it's good to have you, man. I want to order a drink. I would like to order some Giant's milk.
Some Giant's milk. Well, I got the red beard, so I'm going to follow Gorman's thing, and I'm going to go ahead and get some Giant's milk as well.
I don't think I have that on. I don't have a sound effect for that one.
All right, I'll have my usual Aaron, just bourbon on the rocks.
Well, that we can do as well. Not a problem here. What you having, Two Scoops?
Oh, you know me. I always go with the same thing, but I'm going to go with an ice-cold beer.
What kind of beer? What's your placement on that one?
So my go-to as of late for easy drinking is the Michelob Ultra. But if I'm going with yes, exactly. But if I'm going with the hard craft beer, you know, I like going with some Three Floyds. You know, a little bit of like Gumball Head, or they're more kind of Midwest breweries.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that sounds good.
If we're talking beer, I don't know if you get this beer in Iowa, Aaron. It's New Glarus, and man, I love this beer called Totally Naked. That is an easy drinking beer.
I have not heard of that. We do have a Lucky Bucket here, somewhere around. I'm not sure. Somewhere in Nebraska, and they got one called Certified Evil. That
there you go.
Is wicked. It's got like orange peels and raisin and a bunch of other kind of stuff you never expected here. So that one's good stuff. And it's like 12%, or it's way higher. I think it's pretty ridiculous.
That sounds good.
Pour yourself a drink, Aaron. Aldo says drinks are on the house again tonight.
Oh, good. You might regret that, but all right, let's do it.
What are you having?
You know what? We'll go with since Certified Evil Snobber, just a Guinness draft. Go with the classics.
Oh yeah,
right.
there you go.
There it is. And you got it from a can. It can't be from a bottle. It always has to be from a can if it's not from a tap.
There you go. That's right. And Tooch, what was the name you said of your beer?
Totally Naked. I want to bring in our first guest, Joe.
All right, well, let's...
My sultry neighbor is here early.
She's here, and here's her intro.
She's a real estate professional by day, a Chardonnay sipping, streaming TV series fan by night. She's Tooch's sultry neighbor. Give it up for Shea Beck.
Get some booty. Can I have some sweetness? Can I see your beauty? Can we get down on the floor? Can I get some booty?
Oh, thanks for dropping by, Shea. How are you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic.
All right. Joe, let's start with a little, what are you watching now, and how's it going for you? And Aaron, anything you want to recommend to the listeners if I have a stream? What are you watching now, and how's it going for you?
You know, just this morning I started season 3 of True Detective with Mahershala Ali.
Oh, there you go.
See, the first season was great. The second season didn't do it for me, but I like Mahershala Ali, so I figured I'd give that one. I'm only about an episode or 2 in, but other than Game of Thrones is kind of what I'm watching. But One Punch Man is coming out episodes every Tuesday, so that one I got to throw out there too if you haven't already.
Oh man, I don't know that one, Joe. That's one for maybe for the news and 2 scoops or less. Sometimes that's coming out.
It's an anime, so if you're an anime person, then
nice.
One Punch, and for those of you that didn't catch that, it's One Punch Man.
Nice. So where's that going to be on? Where can we find One Punch Man?
That one is on Hulu at the moment. The new ones are. I think the first season might be on Netflix, but the new ones are airing every Tuesday on Hulu.
Very cool. How about you, Shea? Anything you're watching besides Game of Thrones right now? Anything you can recommend?
I completely forgot about. I think it's Pretty Little Liars on HBO with Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon.
Oh.
It's a fantastic show.
Did that just start?
Second season starts like June 6th.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
That's my birthday, June 6th.
It is?
Yep.
Well, I knew that.
Excellent
yes, it's
show.
a fantastic show, and I'm really excited to recap on first season and like get back into the second season.
What's Pretty Little Liars
I'm
about?
sorry. Hang on. Let me chime in for a second. It's Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies, right?
See, I knew I was wrong.
Thanks,
I
Joe.
just watched that this morning on the Game of Thrones was having actual.
Yeah.
That's right. The only reason I knew it.
And did you love it?
Yeah.
The Big Little Liar. I haven't actually watched it. I just saw the.
It's
the preview
fantastic.
for it.
I watched the whole thing with my
It's
fiance.
worth watching, guys. It really is.
And that's on HBO. Big Little Liars.
Big Little Liars.
No, Big Little Lies.
I mean, it's got
Big Little Lies.
Sorry, we're getting this. We're totally screwing this up. It's
Big
probably
Little Lies.
All right, so I want to recommend one. This is a movie actually that's on Netflix, and it's called Caliber. And I don't want to say too much about it, but I don't know if anybody's seen it, but what it deals with, we're at the core, is a couple people out on a hunting trip and make a couple bad decisions that affect the rest of the movie. And if you have to see it, man, it's hardcore and it'll make you think. It's called Caliber. It's on Netflix, and man, it's a strong one. If you get a chance, check it out. Caliber. It's a movie. It's not a series, but it's on Netflix. How about you, Joe? Anything you can recommend for I Have a Stream listeners?
Yeah, I know I mentioned it a few weeks back about how the new season was coming out, but my fiance and I recently started watching The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Season 2, and the first season's fantastically dark and awesome, and the second season's just really building off that. So for anyone out there that hasn't watched that show, give it a tune in, and great stuff out of Kiernan Shipka and the rest of that cast.
Yeah, that's on my list. That's on Netflix too, I think.
Yes, it is.
Excellent. So, Aaron, let's do some TV confessional. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say it's about time for that.
Confess.
All right.
Confess. 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 I confess. Not you.
I confess.
Who was that? Well, I didn't expect a kind of Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Such shame.
Oh, Aaron. So
too much shame.
Our
this
guest
one I had to think about. For me, Vampire Diaries.
You've never watched Vampire Diaries?
I hadn't before.
I haven't either.
I don't know. It looks, just upon it looks like just a normal teenage love thing with vampires, so I was over it immediately. But my girlfriend got me into it, and it gets pretty intense, and the story takes some pretty cool turns. It's not just your typical heartthrob thing.
All right,
so for me, that's got to be Vampire Diaries.
Where do we find Vampire Diaries?
The whole thing is on Netflix, actually, right now. They finished making it, I think, sometime last year, so that one's officially done.
Okay, great. Joe, anything to confess this week? I know you and I have a lot of penance to do.
I had a big confession last week with Say Yes to the Dress, watching with my fiance, but I've got an arguably bigger confession to make this week, and I have to say I've been watching with my fiance Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and I have to say my favorite Kardashian absolutely has to be Khloe, because why not?
All right.
Wait. I think I think I have an own reaction to that.
Oh.
I think I got to go with the.
Holy smokes!
Holy smokes is right.
I think that's fair.
Oh man, I have a confession, and I'm going to be doing penance for this one for a long time. And please do not tell my Uncle Mike, who's radio spot red. I've only watched one episode of The Sopranos.
What?
I'm Italian American.
I'm actually the exact same thing. Just one.
Shame.
Shame. The one episode I've watched was the very last episode, so I was completely lost. But I really want to watch it. I've been meaning to watch it. I just, there's so many shows, Joe. But
there's a lot.
Yeah, it's going. But let's. I want to enter the memory stream, Joe, because we have a fun memory stream this.
We sure do.
This week, so. Oh man, let's change the channel here. This television show aired January 12th, 1999 on Fox. It's celebrating its 20th year anniversary. I'm going to play a little clip here, and you'll know exactly what show it is as soon as you hear it.
It seems today that all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV.
But where are those good old-fashioned values on which we used to rely? Lefty is a family guy. Lefty is a man who positively can do all the things that make us laugh and cry. He's a family guy.
I'm monitoring Dylan from here on Stewie's baby monitor.
Hey, Dylan? Hey, come on in here for a sec.
Stewie, why are you nude?
Oh, just a little something I do once a week around here called a naked tea party. Got my teacup here. Now all I need is a tea bag. That's something that interests you, my friend?
You're weird.
Yeah, and you're attractive. Now take your pants off!
I'm out of here.
Did you see that, Rupert? How to Lose a Guy in 10 Seconds starring Stewie Griffin, huh? Gee whiz.
All right, I caught a fish. Oh, sorry about that, Loretta. Hey, can I have my fish back?
Oh, you're gonna have to reach into the cookie jar.
Well, we'll have to do this again sometime.
You name the time and the place, little Nick.
Oh, you did? Huh?
You gotta push back a little. You gotta get a little rough. Ow!
My hands on your big soft boobs running down your big man-like... Holy crap, it's Chris! So, how you doing? Did you do all your homework? Finish all your subjects?
Yes, sir.
Good. Just checking. Have a good night, son. You still awake, honey?
What the deuce? Oh my God, that one's having a heart attack!
That was amazing.
You saved her life.
Thank God you know CPR.
What the hell's CPR?
What's wrong with you?
What the hell, man?
Hurts, doesn't
What
it?
the hell? Yes! What the hell's your problem?
My friend.
What?
You've been kicked in the...
No way.
You're gonna be on TV.
Oh, sweet. Oh, my God.
We love that show.
Oh, that is awesome. Hey, hi.
You're on it.
Oh, wow. Look at that side boob. Check out this side boob. How about that side boob? That turn you on? Well, it shouldn't.
'Cause it's my side boob. Good night, everybody.
Peter, what the hell are you doing? You're supposed to be with Lois. Oh, crap. After we're done with this, we could write it.
Oh, man. Can you guys believe 20 years of Family Guy? Man, this done so. I mean, this is one show that really pushed the envelope. Boundaries of television. For perversity, for grossness, for that's one thing why I love Family Guy is how far it pushes the boundaries, and all the great voices. Joe, I mean, so many great voices. Seth MacFarlane. The voice talent, the sound effects, the writing. At first, I was kind of, it's another Simpsons, but man, it really grew into something so much different. Aaron, I know you'll agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
20 years.
One of my favorite things about Family Guy is that it seems like 3 or 4 people do all the voices.
Yes.
Like Loretta that it just had is the same lady that does Lois. And I think she does a number of other ones on there too. Like there's so many of them. Like obviously Seth MacFarlane that does like 90% of them. It feels like almost everyone's him.
So Joe, you were 11 when Family Guy came out.
I was.
Do you remember back that far and when it came out, watching it on Fox?
I do, man. I used to watch Fox, and then every night, I think it was around 10 o'clock, they had like The Simpsons, then they had Seinfeld, and like before that, they'd usually have Family Guy on, and I kind of watched them in succession as I was going to sleep when I was a kid, and I was distraught when they canceled it for the first time.
Right, and still going, still live, and Joe, we have a real treat tonight. We actually have a cast member from Family Guy on the phone with us.
What?
Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
It's Stewie Griffin. Stewie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. What do you want from me?
Oh.
It seems that opening clip makes me want to kill myself. That's the kind of family I come from, people.
Oh, Stewie, would you mind if we asked you, a few questions? I mean, you're like 20 now, so are you in college?
Yes, I'm a snowflake millennial. I should be getting my scrotum tattooed for spring break. And have some almond milk and perhaps some, what is it, pimento toast that all the millennials love.
Now, is your dog Brian? Is he still kicking?
No, unfortunately, he tried to extend his life by ordering some off-brand hormones through a friend of Quagmire, but they just ended up killing him.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That got dark.
Nice. Joe, do you have any questions for Stewie?
Stewie, is your head
Hello,
still...
Joe.
Hello. Is your head still shaped like a football?
Yes, but the hair's grown over, so you don't really see those little bumps at the top. Supposedly the animators are so cheap, they just put little streaks on.
Aaron, can you fix Stewie up with the drink?
Stewie, what are you drinking, my friend?
I would like a mojito with some Cool Whip.
Oh, gross. Coming right up, man.
Thank you.
Stewie, I remember one time Brian was babysitting you, and he did not change your diaper for several days. You were carrying around a load the size of the Rock of Gibraltar.
I'd rather not think about that day, or the succession of days, and the carpet cleaning bill alone. You wasn't able to go on vacation that summer.
Aaron, any questions for our honored guest, Stewie?
You already got the one I was going to ask if his head still shaped the same, but if the hair came over and through, are you still trying to take over the world?
Oh, yes, but in a different way. I'm practicing for White House counsel Stephen Miller.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Okay, one follow-up question to that is Lois still alive? And if not, did you cause it?
Oh, no, she's fine. She's still with the fat man.
Oh, okay.
I don't talk to them much.
Oh, poor thing.
Stewie, say hi to my sultry neighbor, Shea.
Hello, Shea. You sound like you're sultry.
Oh, hello, Stewie.
What are you drinking tonight, my dear?
Chardonnay.
Chardonnay.
He's my boyfriend. I call him Chardonnay. He's always at home chilling.
Ooh, I like that. Just getting kind of weird, you know.
All right. Well, thanks for dropping by, Stewie. And, of course, this is the great Brian Shanahan, who does a ton of voices. And thanks for coming by the bar room, Brian. I want you to stick around and talk some Game of Thrones with the gang.
If you'll have me, sure.
Oh, man. Awesome. All right, Joe, let's get into episode 2.
Yeah, let's cue the music. Well, Tooch, I just realized we did that, and we didn't even talk about the entertainment news this week. We skipped my segment completely.
I am so sorry, Joe. We'll hold the news till next week.
You know, real quick, news-wise, I was really impressed that you knew Jordan Mormont was going to be Batman.
Yeah.
I didn't think that many people knew that.
Deliver a little news, Joe. And then we'll get back into Game of Thrones.
I won't do the drop, but I'll do the news.
Yeah, all right, cool.
So here is the entertainment/streaming news in 2 scoops or less. Deadwood has a movie event coming to HBO, and it will premiere on May 31st. It stars Ian McShane, Timothy Olyphant, Molly Parker, and John Hawkes, and takes place 12 years after the original show's story. Also, for all of you 90s fans out there, all of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's movies are coming to Hulu. That's right. So put on your 90s hat and get ready, because May 1st you can watch It Takes Two, Billboard Dad, Passport to Paris, and many more. And then lastly, we actually talked about on our first episode about All in the Family. All in the Family and the Jeffersons will return to television in a one-night live special, starring Woody Harrelson, Jamie Foxx, Marissa Tomei, and Wanda Sykes. The event will air on May 22nd and will be hosted by Jimmy Kimmel. So that sounds like a blast, and that, my friends, is the news in 2 scoops or less.
I'm looking forward to that last bit there on live television with Woody Harrelson as Archie Bunker, man. That's going to be really good. I can't wait for that. All right, so Game of Thrones, episode 2, and we played last time because this could be the last time we see some of these characters. And, you know, yes, sir.
And since I don't have a Game of Thrones soundbite, here is a Game of Thrones drop.
That's what I do. I drink, and I know things.
That's right. Well, this is the last time we might see some of these characters, man, and we'll get into that too. This episode, in the first episode, not a lot has happened. I know there's only 6 episodes. I don't know about you guys, but I've been feeling a little bit like the 2 episodes have been kind of wasted. I know we set up, there were great episodes too, without a lot of action. It was a lot of exposition. And we talked about this, Joe, that maybe the show is going to be a little bit rushed towards the end. Now, next week is the longest episode of the season of all of Game of Thrones. Was the Battle of Winterfell next week. And this second episode was a triumph for female characters. We talked about that in our preview, about how Game of Thrones is probably the best show on television for female character writing. And there were so many great things for the females in this episode. We're going to get into all of them.
Oh, yeah.
There were tons of humor and camaraderie, and a lot of characters spent the last night before the big battle drinking, which is, what we're doing here in the bar room. That's what I probably would do on my last night before a battle. You're not going to be able to sleep, just like Jamie said. So let's talk about the opening, which was Jamie's trial, where he was brought in front of most of the major characters in the show at this point. And Daenerys, of course, has a beef with him as well, which we forgot to touch on. But Jamie killed her father. So how did you think that was handled? Let's go, Brian, as our honored guest. How did you think they handled that opening scene with Jamie? Were you in approval?
Yeah, I thought it played out pretty much how I thought it would be when I saw him at the end of the first episode. Him coming in, it's like, when's he going to talk to Bran? What's going to happen with that? And Bran sees the bigger picture, so that got answered later. But, Daenerys, she understands at this point, I think, by Tyrion telling her a lot about her father, the Mad King. So, she doesn't want to, ruffle things, with the Lannisters right now. She doesn't need this. She doesn't need the people like Tyrion, even though he's messed up a bunch of times, get her or any other people like Lady Brienne swearing for Jamie. That was the key. The key.
Yeah, Tyrion, a lot of people were building up Tyrion and his big mind, his big brain in this episode. So, and we'll get to Tyrion in a little bit. I want to talk about Sansa and Dany, because that was an important scene. And I'm going to go to Shea, because you got the two gals. What did you think about Sansa and Dany's conversation? Did you think either one of them gained ground or lost ground?
Absolutely no ground was gained.
No ground was gained.
No,
I'm in total agreement.
So.
One thing we did notice was that Sansa kind of exposed the relationship. Dany gets gets Dany to admit that she loves Jon and Jon loves her, and also says that she's worried because men think with the little head, right, Aaron?
Yeah, most of the time we do, especially if they look like Sansa and Dany. Absolutely.
Right, men in love tend to make foolish decisions, and I thought that was a great line. But there's still this coldness between Sansa and Dany, as each one, is playing the game. Joe, what do you think this is going to play out in the next few episodes?
Well, I tell you what, man, I thought they were gaining a little bit of ground in that conversation.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, Sansa's like, when this is all said and done, I don't bow to anybody. And I was like, oh, damn. There we go. Drop the mic. And I think you're gonna see that play out. And not to jump too far ahead, but I think the conversation Jon had with her in the crypt and her reaction to that says a lot about kind of where this show's going and where that relationship is going. So I think you're going to see Jon have to pick between his family and Dany, and then I think it's going to be a ending that no one is expecting. Whatever it's going to be, I'm expecting there to be a lot of heartbreak, and I think we all guessed it, a lot of death.
Yeah, I agree. I think this whole setup, like I said last week, we spent a lot of times living with these characters. Now they're second nature to us. We know them kind of in and out, and that's what makes the show so great. We feel the triumphs, we feel the hugs, we feel the love, we feel the hate, we feel the family. We'll get to the Jon and Dany thing. Let's save that for the end. That's probably the biggest moment of the show. I want to talk about Theon's return, and I'm gonna hit up Aaron first here. Theon comes back and he's got redemption on his mind. How much help is Theon going to be defending Bran, Aaron?
Defending, and that's always the thing. Is always my big question. Who's going to go next? Theon's one of mine. I think is absolutely, especially when that episode seems like there's a little bit of a connection between him and Sansa, and it seems like as soon as you start appreciating something, whether it's a relationship or a character, they absolutely axe it.
Dude, I totally agree. As soon as he said he was going to guard Bran, I'm like, oh, he dead.
Yeah, gone, dude. No good. Especially if you do stuff like that and go out to be like altruistic and be like righteous. Nah, you're host. That's just not going to happen.
Right, and that's pretty much a fitting ending for Theon's arc. You know, he does have a lot of redemption to do. Brian, do you think Theon makes it through this, or would you say he dies redeeming himself valiantly?
That seems to be the way it seems to be going, especially when Bran gave him the nod after he said that, you know, he would defend, you know, because it really brought it back to when Theon took Winterfell. And, you know, Bran then, you know, he was a smart young little boy, you know, who, you know, they grew up more or less as brothers, you know, Theon being warded there. So there was that play, and there's like Theon's, you know, his whole journey of where he's become now, yeah, I see a total like sacrifice for the greater cause, for the Stark family. True, you know, because he was redeemed himself by rescuing his sister. Now he wanted to fight for Winterfell.
Right. We felt that, you know, Sansa, you know, and Theon went through a lot together, escaping from Ramsay Bolton in, you know, in season 6. All right, so I want to talk about one of the more triumphant scenes, and of course another reason why we played last night. And in this last night, Arya is looking to experience one thing before she may die. And I was jumping up and down. Shea, you called it last week. You said that Arya and Gendry were going to get together. How did you feel?
I was excited. I mean, I knew it.
Right.
I saw like how many episodes before when she was like 12 looking at that, you know. I saw it. As creepy as it was somewhat satisfying.
Right, and as Peter would say, we got a little side boob, Joe.
Yeah, we did.
Much to Aldo's dismay, I don't know if you saw that post, but he said, I don't care how old she is or not, I'm just not looking at that. That's not all right.
Well, I think Maisie Williams is 22, so I mean,
yeah.
I guess we're okay.
She is 22, but the guy who plays Gendry is 32. 10-year difference.
Gendry's 32?
Yeah.
Joe, how did you feel? Were you elated that Gendry and Arya finally got together?
No, I was rather confused, actually. I saw it coming. I kind of had that vibe when she started asking about how many women that he's been with. So I'm like, okay, so does this guy have AIDS? I don't know, maybe.
Well, it was a very awkward.
Is he clean?
Awkward scene, but
dude, nobody's clean in that time period, man.
He's from King's Landing, so I'm gonna say he's not.
And he's
not
practically
this clean.
a virgin.
No, I think yeah, that's right.
Flea bottom.
I think the real question we gotta ask though is, since he's what is it called?
Blacksmith.
Since he's a blacksmith, is he manscaped or not?
Iron forged.
He is iron forged.
Like no hair. Yeah. Oh, that's a manly way to do it, though. Let's stop shaving and start torching ourselves.
Right. And we saw Arya's weapon. Brian, we talked about this last week. You weren't in the bar room last week when we talked about this. It looks like a spear with a detachable tip. What do you think Arya's going to do with that weapon?
I think it's going to be a lot of her training as a faceless man. Faceless, you know, all the beatings she took from the waif in Bravos. Now she can work a stick, so she can swing around. She can work, you know, she can work a staff, and then she can remove for close combat if it comes to that with that Valyrian blade.
She was working Gendry's staff.
Oh my God!
I don't think this probably doesn't spell well for Gendry. You know, I think it might be like a heartbreaking moment for Arya in this battle if she loses.
Oh, all right. Yeah. You're calling the Gendry's
well,
death.
It's just I don't know. You know,
it's all right.
It's like, does she have that emotion? Because you saw that shot at the end of the show last night. He was sleeping, and her eyes were open. She was ready for battle already. You know, she's already preparing. So it's like, you know, it's not
It's like she's not giving herself to like be in an emotional relationship with anyone. That's not what a faceless,
Good point.
Well, maybe he was just really bad.
It's still
and he was trying to reflecting
so
on it.
It's always gonna matter.
Yeah. Do you think that spear tip has the Night King's name on it, Shay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Good. We'll talk about
Tooch,
the Night King as we get towards a little bit later here. And
Tooch, before you move on for a second, buddy.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
There's been a lot of talk about what that weapon looks like and how it's kind of going to function.
Right.
And all it makes me think of is this. It's when Darth Maul comes out in episode 1, right?
Very cool.
Better that than Jar Jar Binks. Who's the Jar Jar Binks of Westeros?
Okie day.
Oh man, so that was a good emotional moment. The Gendry and Arya. There were several others. Of course, we had Theon and Sansa. I want to talk about Sam and Jorah. And Sam gifts Ser Jorah with his family sword, and man, that was a great moment too. Another great moment was another female triumph. This was when Brienne was knighted. Man, that I got really emotional. Aaron, did you?
That was cool.
Did you get a little teary?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you see a character like that that's so strong, whether it be a guy or a girl, and they're just absolute pillar of strength, and then they get what they've been wanting their whole life, and they start that. That to me is always what does it for me.
Right, and she was tearing up too. How'd you feel, Shay, when? I
mean, to be knighted before the day you die.
Right, and that was a great speech that Jamie gave. I love the oath.
First woman.
I don't remember if we'd seen that oath before. Joe, do you remember if we've seen the Knights of the Seven Kingdoms oath?
I could not remember that at all.
I don't think we have. That was really great.
No,
that was fantastic.
Right. So let's talk about the party in Winterfell that started out with just Jamie and Tyrion, and of course.
It was like an old Merv Griffin show. Celebrities dropping by.
Right. Most of them were coming
Sammy
to just
Davis
get warm.
Jr. shows up.
Most of them were just getting warm. Sir Davos. They all end up drinking. First, Brienne allows Podrick, a wee drink, half, which Tyrion fills to the very tip, very top of his drink, and later on, Podrick gives us a great song. It's a Jenny of Oldstone song.
That was awesome.
Right, and I think Joe.
That was awesome.
The actor is a singer in real life. I think he's got an album out. That Daniel Portman.
I think he is.
I'm almost positive he has a band. I'll have to double check that. But
did you guys catch who did the cover of that during the post credits?
Lady, obviously, but I don't remember.
That was Florence Welch of Florence and the Machine.
Florence and the Machine, right?
Yes, I saw that.
No kidding.
Yeah, that was awesome.
With the intro, if you guys, I don't know if you know much of a Mastodon fan, they've actually been in Game of Thrones twice.
Yeah.
Really?
That.
The very first time is when the Night's Watch go to get, they go to get the wildlings and bring them on the boats, and they just happen to be some of the ones that stand up after the Night King kind of dramatically raises his arms, and you can clearly see there's three of them. There's like two guitarists and the drummer actually standing up on that, and there's another time later where at least one of them's in another scene, so they've actually been in it twice.
Wow, excellent. Let's before we get into the biggest part of this the biggest conflict going on, I want to talk about some possible deaths, and I think they set up a few of them. We talked about Theon. Two people who were absent from the party at Winterfell were Beric and the Hound, and while the Hound may survive, I think the Lightning Lord with the flaming sword, I don't think he's going to be around too much longer. He's on my list. Anybody in agreement? What do you think, Joe?
I don't know why. I just get the feeling he's going to survive until like the final episode. He just strikes me. I think he's gonna die eventually, but I think that flaming sword is too important and too symbolic to let it go right now.
All right, so Shea, you think Barrick is set up to go down in the Battle of Winterfell?
Yes, I do.
I do too.
I think he
I'm
is.
in agreement.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brian?
I do believe that. I think him being with the Hound and kind of a redemption of the Hound in a way by him joining the Brotherhood. I think it's going to happen next to the Hound. You know, the Hound's going to have to witness it, and you know, I think it's time for Barrick. You know, because he's like talking about the Lord of Light, so it'll be his will. You know, and you know, him being a fire and guy with a firing sword, and the Hound being a guy who doesn't like fire.
Right, maybe a heroic death for Barrick with fighting a White Walker. Aaron?
Yes,
Brian?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's got to be something kind of mystical and symbolic because of that sword and all that. And does the Red Witch come back at any point?
Ooh, great point. Yeah,
Melisandre.
I think you're going to see her show up right before the battle. I have a feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great call.
Wasn't one of the last things she said, I'm not going to die in Westeros or something like that?
No, she's supposed to die in this place.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it was on that island when they met Dany. Gotcha, okay.
Right. Another guy I think they're setting up for a fall is Grey Worm as he gives his little love speech with Missandei. And they're going to go away together to her home island and sit on the beach. And I don't think that's happening. What do you think, Aaron? Grey Worm possibly
he's at the top of my he's at the top of my Deadpool, we'll call it. I absolutely think he's going to be one of the first ones to go. It may be, I think it's going to be probably saving somebody. Maybe they break in and come after her, and he does that for her and just kind of saves her. But I think Grey Worm's my number one that we're going to lose on this episode.
Yeah, I do too. He's on my list. Joe, Grey Worm gone in this next episode?
I think Grey Worm's gone for sure, and I think it's like you said, a heroic death, but I think it's him saving Dany in a heroic way, and then biting the big one.
Good call. Yeah, we talked about Theon, not much of a chance, but the Night King was conspicuously absent from the end. We'll talk about that. In a little bit. Another one. I think he even talked about burning his body after he's gone was Dolorous Ed, and the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. He's on my list. Brian, what do you think? Dolorous Ed, the dour comedian.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Him and Sam and John being up there with Ghost. We got to see Ghost up on the wall.
Yes, no one acknowledges him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a very short scene of Ghost.
Yeah, but it was like a little throwback to they're mentioning Gren and Pip. So yeah, there's Ed's probably a goner.
Right, maybe Ghost. All the direwolves, of course, are gone as well. One of them met up.
Nymeria.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say Arya is still out there. So
yeah, Arya's wolf still a. Ready to return, maybe. Dolorous Ed, of course, the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Shea, do you think he's a goner?
Yes.
What do you think? Yeah. All right. How about Brienne? After getting knighted, we just talked about it. Joe, what do you think? Brienne, not long for, or does she make it out of this?
I think she's going to make it out of this, and I think she's going to try to protect Sansa, and I think ultimately she's going to fail, and she's going to have so much guilt. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. I think they're setting her to go on this. I think they're setting her up to go on this emotional roller coaster. Like, she's got this vow to protect the Stark girls, and then she vouches for Jaime, and then something happens to Sansa because of that. Not to say that he's going to hurt Sansa, but something ultimately leads to Sansa's death.
Wow.
I think it's going to turn into like this roller coaster of emotions. These last 4 episodes, and I tell you what, I hope I'm wrong.
Wow, Sansa not on my list as the maybe the best player of the game at the moment, but wow, wow, that would really be a game changer for these last 4 episodes if Sansa were to fall at the Battle of Winterfell. Anybody else think Sansa falls? What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, actually, I'd never even considered her. That would be one that most people probably don't think of because she's not going to be up front in the battle. But I could definitely see her falling, and maybe later Brienne doesn't protect her like she's supposed to, or tries to, or somebody sneak attacks her. But I never considered that, and now I'm like, yeah, I think that would be a prime candidate for them to knock off right away.
Right. Another guy that's on my list was Tormund. I love the scene. Tormund at the party was great as he gave his little giant's milk story, of course. And he was really trying to puff himself up for Brienne at that party. It was a little awkward. He had a hard time drinking out of his ale horn.
I mean, who wouldn't love to see those two together?
Oh, I would love that too. That's my.
Right. Come on.
You also had the Jaime kind of Brienne thing, so the show writers are really playing that love triangle.
No kidding.
So this will be something we'll have to keep an eye on for the next 4 episodes. What do you think, Shea? Is who ends up with Brienne if she survives?
Well, she probably wants to be with Jaime. Let's be honest, but she should be with Torm. Yeah.
Right. Now, Jaime has only ever been with one woman, and that's his sister. So
that's a hard.
This would be
lead to
something.
follow.
This would be something novel for him. Brian, do you think of those 3, which 2 most likely to end up together?
I think either, I hate to say it, but I think there's going to be a scene where either Brienne dies in Jaime's arms or vice versa.
Yeah,
it's just
I'm
with that
with you.
whole scene with the knight, like you said, how touching that was, and you saw her smile, and it was just a really bright moment, and everybody was happy for her. It's
we're being
one of my
set
favorite
up.
characters. She's great.
We're being set up for at least one of those 3 to go down. I guarantee you in this next battle.
Well, in Tormund, it might end up him getting squashed by a giant, just kind of like, a giant.
That
playing that off.
Speaking of giants, Joe, I know I texted you this earlier. What happened to 1-1?
I don't know, man. It
Burned
just
him.
magically disappeared. Maybe he's burned or something.
They probably
could really
burned
use
all
him.
the dead.
Man.
Battle of Bastards.
It'd be great to see 1-1. I know the Night King has got at least one
Hodor.
giant. I think they have a few giants laying around. Let's talk about the Night King's absence from the final scene. I want to know what you guys think about where the Night King is. I'm thinking he's on his way down to King's Landing to take advantage of those million residents down there. What do you think? What do you think, Aaron? You think? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I had not even considered that. That's crazy. Would he be that far north though, or excuse me, south?
No, he's got a dragon.
Okay, well, you got me there. So he's got a dragon and go down there and that's the
He's using some frequent flyer miles.
Man, you got me with that one. I hadn't even considered that. And the thing I want to point out too is at the end, did you see how many White Walkers there are?
Yes, there are.
I didn't know that there were that many. They were showed like 3 or 4, and the one scene there on the mountain, there's like 4, and then they opened it up like that panoramic view, and there's just scores of them.
Right, and if Shea, you've watched the show recently, all seasons. Ned Stark always said that 500 men could hold Winterfell against 10,000. So Winterfell, pretty good place to make a last stand. Joe, where do you think the Night King's going? Do you think he's flying down to see Cersei, the Queen?
When I heard that theory from you and we talked about it, I really do think so now. I do think that he's on his way up to King's Landing and he's going to let his generals do the work down in Winterfell. But what I'm asking myself is, how does this story play out if they're going to put Bran by the tree in the back and they're going to realize he's not there at some point, right? How can they do this next episode if he's not there? So that's what I keep talking to myself. I'm like, maybe he's up there and then he's going to quickly fly back and add a couple 100,000 to his army. But
yeah, maybe he doesn't need to take out Bran. And Brian, where do you think? Why do you think the Night King wasn't there at the end of the episode?
Obviously he's on his dragon. I think they, by seeing all the White Walkers there, you're thinking he's on the dragon. And I'd like to add to that, when that horn blows, they run up. Danny and Jon run up next to Tyrion on the battlement. They both give each other a look like time to mount our dragons.
Yeah.
It really gave me that feeling like, okay. I mean, it's like it was real kind of like a battle nod between each other. Like, we got to do this job. Man, that's a perfect segue too. So we talked about this in the last episode of I Have a Stream, and the thing. Well, how does Jon tell Danny? And throughout this episode, he was avoiding Danny for most of the episode until the very end almost, when he finally reveals who he is. And of course, Danny misinformed about her brother, Rhaegar. And she had thought, he had raped Lyanna, kidnapped her, raped her, killed her. And Jon sets that record straight and then gives her the lowdown on who he really is. Aegon Targaryen, the sixth of his name. And Danny reacts I didn't really expect her to react, but how she reacted is perfectly, normal. This is fake news, It's oh, your brother and your best friend said that? What do you think, Brian? How do you think Danny's reaction? Normal, natural? Well, I mean, yeah, the doubt that was obvious. She wanted to point out the obvious to Jon, but the fact that the dragon was nice to him and let him fly him. There's a big connection there that she has to have seen. So she's got her suspicions, and I think this is like a cold, reality slapping her in the face.
Yeah, and Shea, I want to get your reaction. Do you think Danny's whole life has been the quest for the throne, that's all. And she meets
and revenge
Jon Snow, and thinks she could fall in love again.
She is in love.
She's in love, but this is obviously a threat. She reacts. How do you think she reacted? Do you think that was how a woman in her position would react?
I probably would have been worse than her.
Yeah.
I tore his ass up.
Right.
You're the king of the throne. Got to put this aside. And here I've been fighting all this time to be king of the throne.
Yeah.
Queen of the throne.
Came from across the sea.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I love you.
A huge army.
But I hate you.
Joe, do you think? How are they gonna resolve this? Do you think? Put it off until after the battle?
I think they have no choice. I think they have to do the battle and then talk about it afterwards. I don't think there's any way to handle it otherwise.
Yeah, put it aside until
probably
now.
Quit having sex. Put it aside.
And the sex is probably off the table for a little while, Aaron.
Get to war and figure it out later.
I'm thinking so, yeah.
Right. It's not good while you're training in battle.
No.
So it's good to save your strength for the battle. But this is going to be something, it's going to be brewing, I think, maybe for the next couple episodes. Now, in the last episode, in the season premiere, Sir Davos was thinking ahead, and his proposal was that of a marriage where they both can rule. Aaron, do you think Danny will be amenable to a marriage proposal with Jon, or is this too much that he has the superior claim to the Iron Throne?
So here's my thing about that. Who all knows that he's the real heir? So right now it's him, it's Danny, it's Bronn, and Sam, correct? So who knows? I mean, Jon, of course, the joke that I was just hearing about today is every time Jon renounces the title, they promote him. So, he was a bastard. He didn't want anything. Then became the Night's Watch member. Then he stepped out of that, and then he became the King of the North. And he didn't want to be King of the North and stepped down to Danny. So now he's going to be King of the Seven Kingdoms. So it's tough to tell. But I mean, who knows? Jon may step back if they keep whatever the fact that they're related in check. He may not want it. He may think, and she's obviously been preparing for it. He never wanted the big throne, but I think it's totally possible that he kind of just steps back and lets her have it.
You're saying he's Peter from Office Space, where he just gets promoted.
Yep, exactly. He doesn't even want. He's like, I quit. Oh, I own the company now. Okay, sure, yeah, no, not a problem. That's my thing too. I've heard a bunch of interesting theories on that. What's going to happen with it too? But I mean, theories are different theories. What's happened between those two? So we'll have to just wait and see. But that's my 2 cents on it.
Right now, Brian. The only people who know about John are Bran and Sam, correct?
And Sam and John. Yeah, that's
Does,
unless Sam told Gilly.
Right.
I don't know. Do you think Sam tells Gilly things like that, or is that so profound that Sam would only keep him and Bran? I think he would just keep between him and Bran, and then. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. How do they prove it to the rest of the world that this is true? Like, oh yeah, this guy has visions, and this guy read a book.
Right. It's it's hearsay. It doesn't hold up in court yet. But
unless John's hair suddenly turns blonde at some point, that would be strange.
Now we could get some verification on this if Jaqen H'ghar is Rhaegar Targaryen, the faceless man who trained. That's a theory that's out there.
Yeah, I've seen that.
He does have the half white hair, right?
That's streak.
That would do some confirmation, and John would finally meet his father, which would be great, his real father. And I think theoretically, Joe, do you think the secret, if Sam and Bran were to die at the Battle of Winterfell, the secret would pretty much die there? Do you think?
It really would, and I don't know what he did with the passages that he found. He may have the book with Gilly, and she may know some more details, but depending on where that book is and where those passages are, it could easily be a secret that goes on forever without anyone ever knowing the difference.
Right, and all this great setup these past 2 episodes. Now I know there wasn't a lot of action, a lot of people complaining on social media about lack of action for the first 2 episodes. Yeah. It was a big exposition for maybe how we'll lose a bunch of characters at this next battle. Now this next episode is the longest battle scene ever committed to film. It took the characters, the actors themselves called the shoot the long night. It was 40 nights of shooting, 11-hour nights, something like that, in the snow and the cold in Northern Ireland. And this will be the largest battle ever committed to film. This will be the longest episode 3 of Winterfell. Took 55 nights, of shooting.
What's the running time of this show, this episode coming up?
This show is over an hour and a half. I think it's 1 hour and 38 minutes. So
I think missed it. God dang it.
It's 98 minutes, I believe. Man, I'm really looking forward to next week. It's going to be a great recap. We've reached the end of the show, Joe. I want to thank all of our guests, the real Shea Beck. Thanks for coming on, Shea.
Thank you so much. And Brian Shanahan, I have to say you have a great voice.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. I love you.
Oh, that's my sultry neighbor, Shea Beck. Brian Shanahan is our great voice artist.
Thank you, gentlemen, for letting me part of your tiny little radio show.
There he is.
Hey,
right.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Aaron. Nice meeting you, fellas. Enjoyed. Thank you for letting me be part of this. And Johnny.
Right. And
hope I did well, and I hope you had fun.
You were awesome. Follow the show at I Have a Stream Pod on Twitter.
Yes,
follow me at Santucci_John at Twitter. Follow Joe Mandel at Joe Mandel on Twitter. Follow Aaron Michalski at Aaron_Michalski88 on Twitter. And you can find the show at Bears Barroom Radio Network on YouTube, on Podbean, on SoundCloud. Listen to the show. The show should be up tomorrow, a post-production show version of this. And Joe's going to take us out with a little television, Joe.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next week after the battle.